But yeah, it's time to get the game underway because this is an important one. This is not just for the implications of the Countdown Cup in terms of it being the first round of knockouts when we're actually in it. I'm going to hit it again, Josh. Yeah, it's incredibly important for the overall playoff spot in the Eastern Division because it's only 2 teams that can lock it up. Already one of them is secured, and that's the Shanghai Dragons. That number 2 spot, though, still up for grabs, and it's the winner of this match here, right now, between both these teams that is going to decide it. Huge, huge implications between both of them, and you definitely don't want to be playing in the play-ins overall. We've already seen the San Francisco Shock. It was out of their hands. They have been knocked out of the overall playoffs in the Western Division now after the back,
at least that guaranteed spot.
Exactly, off the back of the Gladiators making it to the finals of the Countdown Cup now for the upper bracket. So a really important match between both these teams. And let's take a look at the Seoul Dynasty starting lineup as well. 2 players that I think as well that Johnny was highlighting, and I also agree with him that are going to be vitally important to a win today. Profit and Fitz. And I was reviewing some of the Seoul Dynasty's footage as well. Fitz, man, I don't know where it snuck up on me. He's been having a good season all year round.
Amazing season.
I've still got these old narratives in my mind about him as a player, but my God, the improvements he's made over the course of his Overwatch career, it's astounding. And him and Profit, now as a duo, my goodness, they are looking sublime.
Even coming into last season, I thought that this might have been one of the best DPS lineups that we had in the entire league. And then they kind of got overshadowed a little bit by the Shanghai Dragons lineup. And the Seoul Dynasty's DPS, they still come up with huge performances every game, just game on game. They've been consistent all year long. Sure, they haven't made it to the same stage finals that the Chengdu have, 3 in total, while Seoul, this is their first appearance. But still, in terms of their regular season matches, they've always been there, they've always turned up, they've always been the win condition for Seoul Dynasty.
But the Chengdu Hunters are going to be coming into this one probably feeling quite confident, honestly. It's not ideal that they're in this spot right now, but against the Seoul Dynasty, it's an opponent that they've faced many times across franchise history as well. Both of these teams, Seoul and Chengdu, the times they've battled is 9 times. It's currently leading 5-4 to the Seoul Dynasty. So the Chengdu Hunters looking to potentially even it up over the course of the history of things. And what a way to do it in such an important match.
Yeah, both of these teams have had such different journeys throughout this year. Like I said, in terms of stage finals, Chengdu are miles ahead. They made it to the main melee. Then they've also been to the Summer Showdown where they made the finals. And now we're here in the Countdown Cup. But Seoul have just been plugging away, slowly, solidly, under the radar for most people. But they have a fantastic regular season record. And this is their opportunity to show that they're capable of more. Whenever we think of Seoul, Brent, at least for me, I think of their players, particularly Profit and Gesture, just turning up towards the end of the year. They're great throughout the regular season, normally, especially Profit, is good, and then just once they get into playoff form, if those players find the right meta for them, or they just feel more engaged with what's going on because the games have more weight, they just suddenly rise to the top. Seoul making our grand finals last year, Profit and Gesture making grand finals and winning it in 2018. There's a lot of history of huge game, big game performances from these players, and there is no bigger game in their season so far than this one.
Oh yeah, it's the most important one over the course of this entire season. Obviously, looking towards the actual playoffs themselves, it might not be the most important over the course of the entire season, but for now, it is. Yeah. It's this match right here to decide who locks up that number 2 spot in the Eastern Division, and of course to continue in the Countdown Cup, which would be lovely, I think, for them as well. Get a bit of that playoff experience under their belt. Seoul Dynasty as a team are going to be looking for some of that. And here we are, we're rolling out on Ilios between both of these teams with slightly different looks and expectations when it comes to the compositions.
And people have been talking about in their analysis, Chengdu being the team more likely to play the ball, more likely to play dive kind of stuff. Here we see the sides flipped. Once more, beginning round of their control map. It's Gaga coming out on Orisa, and their opponents playing Tracer Sombra. This is what Jonathan said would be a primary win condition for Seoul, getting into that backline, try and punish Monk.
I'm inclined to agree, honestly. I think Gesture has looked a bit iffy on the tanks from time to time, but already, in the blink of an eye, the team fight pretty much almost over there. The Chengdu Hunters have found a multitude of pickoffs in the midst of all of that. A lot of that coming off the back of Jinmu's damage. You can see him 65% up to the barrage there, and he was just pumping that in when Seoul was trying to set up.
And not just that, Leave managed to win a 1v1 against Profit, doing a lot of damage to him and finish him off with a melee blow. That's going to be a duel to keep your eyes on this entire time. Hangzhou v Tracer has been the story, it feels, of a lot of these matches, because when you get an elite tier battle between the two, I don't know who ends up coming out on top. I think I'd give the benefit of the doubt to Leave at the moment.
Well, that's an opening pick onto Fitz, and more time. The Fitz isn't going to be building up that EMP, a critical ultimate for them to try and win out. Still, Tuyu is doing the Lord's work right now with Leave falling. Teammate though, it means there's going to be a free barrage for Jinmu. He's just going to offload that one off to the side. Does get the one kill. And he's definitely setting up a lot of damage still. Nice little Bionade there from Creative just to take him out. Even still falling off the side of the map as well. Hacked over the gap, I think, by Fitz. Causing him to drop right down into the drink. This is the Seoul Dynasty just wrangling back the team fight into their control.
Chengdu have loved playing this Hangzhou Pharah kind of stuff, and it doesn't really offer you that much ability to fend off a Tracer or a Sombra, something like that, unless Leave is popping off. Unless he's directly winning those duels, the Seoul Dynasty should, in theory, be able to isolate targets like Monk or Leave, or even Gaga, who tends to stand on the point in his own little fortress. Here we go, Fitz looking for the Pharah Mercy, though, with this EMP break.
Yeah, but he's calming it right now, and he's going to be able to catch it. Onto Jinmu and Evil. Where
did they go?
Them, but where is the follow-up there? I mean, they've dropped behind the building, so there's not going to be any follow-up whatsoever. That's a little whip shot there from Animo, but the boosters were online for late young, so still alive. The mine's pushing them away as well. This rally armor is going to be hard to chunk through. The Chengdu Hunters just trying to stay strong, but look at that hack onto Jinmu. They chase him off, take him out pretty quickly.
The res couldn't be denied.
Yeah,
despite the fact that Tuyu was right there with boosters available as well. They just don't want to invest into this. Seoul Dynasty are happy just to have this point control.
Leiyang gets D-Mac. That's going to be the self-destruct though to try and get back into it. In Baby D.Va form, takes out Creative. It's going to be the pulse bomb off to the side. Profit finding two. Gesture following up as well. The coordination is quite elite. That's a little self-destruct off to the side as well. It's going to push them in and out. Chengdu not willing to give up this point just yet, but I feel like at this point, they're going to need a little bit more. They need a pick-off or two. Ultimates are available. Jinmu, we're using a barrage, but really no targets in line of sight of it to be able to get the kill. Fitz ends up going down anyway to the damage-boosted rocket. Maybe that's the opening they're looking for.
This is going to be a difficult one to flip over, though. Seoul have so many players that can just zigzag in and off the point. Profit being the primary one, and he gets taken out. Another great shot by Leave through the Ant Matrix, if it was even required, as he just helps clean up everybody else. Gesture falls, and now Seoul, though, they're left in a scenario where they just need to get value out of this EMP, and they've punished Gaga. Gaga was going down so much in Chengdu's opening game as well. His ball has been looking a little shaky, I gotta say, even though he's the ball that everyone thinks about as being that's his primary character.
Always trust Leave, though, to somehow turn it around. An arrow to the head, Profit's taken out still. Seoul Dynasty are looking dangerous right now. No one to deny that res onto Leave when he was taken out by Tuyu.
They have to chill. Oh, but they're going for it, Brent.
It's the committal of ultimates, yep, the Nanoboost and the EMP. Jinmu's on the floor. Is there going to be any sort of damage being done to them? No! It's the Chengdu Hunters who are turning it around. Round number one might just be going their way.
That's a huge mistake in terms of the shot calling. We'll see whether individual brilliance can turn it around from Profit. He's around, he's pretty close. Someone needs to touch the objective, and Profit does with his face, straight into a mine. That's catastrophic for the Seoul Dynasty. He did, and this round was lost in that final decision to take the team fight there. They had the EMP, they knew that they wanted to go for it, but a small disengage and a little bit of patience would have paid off so much better for the Seoul Dynasty.
For the Chengdu Hunters, that's easy days. The Ant Matrix is on the field as well. Impossible for Seoul to really push onto the point and contest it. Yeah, it's the little bits of decision-making right there that I think is going to play as a difference maker, I think, throughout this series right here. The Seoul Dynasty being, you know, not having that patience, discipline, if you will, I suppose, in those key moments when it's really getting rough. It definitely played a part in them losing that initial round, but still not over yet. Plenty more action where that came from.
See what compositions both teams choose to go with. Looks like almost essentially a flip in terms of what style they want to go for heading into Ruins. The Hunters going for the ball comp with the Zen Brig backline as well. Whereas the Seoul Dynasty are going for that long-range poke. Maybe anticipating Chengdu to be running the Orisa here. because they've got a huge amount of shield break. They also have some decent punish for Gaga's ball, though. He's going to have to play things very carefully, even with the bubble from late game.
Yeah, and it can be difficult as a Zarya player, I think, to get a lot of value out of the bubbles and get a lot of charge, especially when Gaga, I mean, yoinked forwards, tries to roll out, but taken out straight away. There was no bubble, there was no immortality field to save him. You've immediately lost one of your main primary tanks that's going to be initiating in for you. That's Evil, just right off the map there from the hole. 2U's deciding, okay, might as well just reset.
He wants to go and see Evil Tom. They're good friends. Soul, oh, hello. There's a lot of pressure actually here in the backline. Gaga and Leave combining together. They're trying to turn this fight around even before some of the rest of them have come off spawn. This is just an abuse of 2U being away from the backline there.
I think Seoul honestly got a bit caught off guard. I think 2U resetting, maybe anticipating that the fight was easily won. And it wasn't really necessary to be staying around there in the Baby D.Va form, but it has not paid off in the slightest. That's Lead as well, just coordinating up that aggression in the backline. They just chewed him up.
And I've got to say, I'm so glad that Leave is playing Tracer here. He was popping off yesterday when it came to his Hangzhou, his Genji, picks like that. But we didn't really see him pick up the Tracer too much. And that's where I want to see this battle. Can Leave hard carry his team on Tracer? Jinmu's Sombra is more than serviceable. Leave that to him.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. Jinmu's definitely been making improvements to the Sombra, but Gaga's first death again in these team fights. Doesn't even get the chance to. So much crowd control to Seoul Dynasty's offering. It's very difficult, I think, to get value out of the Wrecking Ball, even at the best of times. The EMP from Jinmu was laid onto a bunch of the Seoul Dynasty, but not enough to really get too much done. Still, see Leave still putting in the good work, and there's Fitch just firing right through the window, just trying to push them all the way, pressure them out. The coordination is there. Chengdu are in control at this point, but probably not for much longer.
Yeah, they're eventually going to get picked apart there. Leaf did find a good kill onto Prophet, who's now gone over to the Torbjorn as well, just applying additional pressure to Leaf. And this is one of the reasons why people don't enjoy playing Tracer in this meta. Look what Leaf has to deal with here. He's got to worry about the D.Va harassing him and just gobbling up his bullets with the defense matrix. Plus, that backline with the Brig in it and then a Torb and a Flash to have to maneuver around. Yeah, very difficult. But the reason that I still want Leaf to try this is because he's a superb player. He can make it work when other players might not be able to. Even when it looks like the wrong pick, Leaf can come out with magic, and it allows that synergy with Gaga.
Especially with his pulse bomb in hand. Doesn't need to worry about the immortality field, but that is a quick little headshot across the map. Leave on 50 health. I mean, it doesn't matter about the damage fall off at the end of the day. Kill is a kill. And now they're pressing the advantage further forwards. It's just nailing every shot, locking them up. A good disengage though from the Chengdu Hunters, recognizing we can't afford to stagger anymore here.
And they still have that Graph Pulse combo. They're about getting close to another trance. Every time the Chengdu Hunters have a support ultimate to try and work with, they have the sustainability to be able to fight Seoul Dynasty just straight up in a big brawl, which usually they wouldn't. Hello, Prophet with the snipes long range.
These picks are brutal, and Leaves had to use the recall just to try and take out the turret as well. We're at 95% and counting. This is almost looking like a sure done deal unless Leave can get something big off of it. The pulse bomb is just slightly off to the side, and the grab gets a 2U. What a play! What a performance! Unreal scenes. The Seoul Dynasty just holding on, and at this point, they got every advantage in the game. Under wraps, got the defensive positioning on lock. The overtime is burning, but that's going to be the round going their way. Going the distance on Ilios early on.
That's a Greek tragedy from Chengdu. They have this Grav Pulse combo that they're trying to get value out of for 3 team fights, and they just kept getting reset by long-range picks. The DPS line for the Seoul Dynasty doing so much work to stop team fights from happening before they even begin. And then when they finally take a little bit of space and get and press their Zarya upwards, the Grav just gets gobbled up. Great work here from 2U. Reading it perfect.
Yeah, that is magic. 2U, another player that's made just drastic improvements from one year to the next.
He really has. Yeah, even throughout the season, I think, actually.
Yeah.
I think early on in the season he was still looking a little shaky, but recently he's been looking great. And we're seeing Prophet on Genji. Wow. They're going for a Genji Sombra lineup here. Huge amounts of dive potential.
So important to coordinate it up though properly. because, I mean, when you're running this, you really do have to sync up all the abilities to get the maximum effectiveness out of what Seoul's running here. They've already taken a bunch of damage. Creative, look at the pressure. Almost dead in the middle of this fight, and that's the backline gone. That's the trouble. Chengdu's comp just puts out so much consistent damage. It's really difficult unless you get a nasty neutral hack off. Fitz sets something up with the dive and the Bionades come all together. It's difficult. And now, Josh, it's the uphill battle. Trying to fight into Chengdu's comp when they've already got the forward positioning. It's a bit of a nightmare.
It is. They're just trying to deal with Fitz at the moment. Make sure that they push him out back to his previous translocator position and stop him from farming up the EMP. The Seoul died so early on that they haven't built up anywhere near to a nano boost, haven't built up to a primal at all. They just got blitzed. They got destroyed. The closest is Gaga when it comes to his supercharger. So, advantage firmly towards Chengdu here. Seoul Dynasty's ult cycling, not even close to coming online.
They're going to try and make a dive attempt work anyway. You see, Gaga actually did get the Fortify off. And there was a neutral hack onto him, but the Immortality Field was there from Monk. Prophet just, I mean, that's optimistic. The Shurikens up into the sky. Superchargers around and about, but do they have any pressure for it? Look at that! Animo, he tried to just waddle up to him from the side, maybe in a bit of a blind spot. But listen, Sarissa is not a horse, doesn't have the blinders on, you know. He's going to be able to spot that from a mile away. Shoots him down. That's another easy teamfight win. Almost too easy here for the Chengdu Hunters now, when we're looking at 60% and counting, Josh.
Way too easy, and Seoul used their nano in that fight as well, Brent. No. So coming into the next one, they've got EMP, and that could be a game changer, but Chengdu are going to be planning around this. They have ults that are good for zoning, for relieving pressure from the rest of their team. If they can play Leave or Late Young off on an angle, their ults are going to be good for denying that space that Seoul wants to capitalize on once Fitz hits the EMP. And they know where Fitz is as well. Jinmu's spotting him from the skies. Got that eagle vision.
Yeah, you can see it all. We're literally looking at potentially the last team fight right now. Chengdu Hunters, look at the ults online for them. Seoul, it's the EMP. It's all on Fitz. It needs to be big. It's 99% and counting, but an aggressive play by Chengdu. The ultimates are committed. The sleep tower connects, but the damage, it might already be done. Still, they take out Jinmu. Could be an opening for them, but with creative down 94% and counting, that's no nano boost for the fight, and everyone's being brought down to their knees. The Chengdu Hunters, they brought it to the overtime, but what a one-sided affair in the final round of Ilios. Not a problem for them, barely breaking a sweat, and Seoul playing this composition that relies so heavily around the ultimates, not even an opportunity to use them.
They didn't use an EMP, they didn't use a Dragon Blade, they didn't use a Primal, they wasted one nano boost. You're right, Brett. That whole comp revolves around ult cycling, and they just couldn't take even the beginning of engagements to try and build them up. Maybe that composition works on a different map where you have more time and you're not constantly fighting against the clock. But on Control right there, they didn't even put up a fight. Chengdu waltz away with the first map.
Yep, some pretty critical mistakes, I would say, there from the Seoul Dynasty, preventing them from making that just ending a bit more competitive, I suppose. But the Chengdu Hunters leading with that one map advantage. They're going to be very happy with this one now. Heading into map 2, we're going to find out if Seoul can put up a bit more of a fight, because remember, the stakes are high. This is playing for that number 2 spot in the Eastern Division and to avoid the play-ins overall. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with even more Overwatch League action.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
This season, we want to celebrate you, the best of us, by hearing directly from you on what you love about the Overwatch League. So share your highlights and favorite moments of the season for a chance to win a trip to the 2021 Grand Finals in Los Angeles on September 25th. To find out more and enter the I Love Overwatch League contest, visit blizzard.wishpond.com/Grand Finals. And there you go, you can submit there for a chance to win a trip to Los Angeles. Sunny Los Angeles. I was there recently, Josh. It was pretty nice in terms of like the weather. You can't beat the weather in Los Angeles. I will say that.
Do you mean you were there, or were you there in the same way that Custer and Reinforce are in Hawaii enjoying that weather?
Because I was actually physically there.
I don't trust anything that happens these days. Videos can be faked, photos can be faked. I'm living in a simulation, I'm sure of it. I mean, this season feels like a simulation in terms of the Seoul Dynasty's consistency. How are they able to have subverted this idea that they're the ping-ponging team where they're good in some weeks and bad in other weeks? That narrative is well and truly dead with this team, and they're going to have to prove it here in the rest of this match too.
They certainly are. If that first map was anything to go by, though, doing a pretty poor job of convincing a lot of us here. Although the Chengdu Hunters did really come out swinging. I think most analysts in the scene, most people were anticipating that Chengdu would be the favorites, I suppose. I mean, especially after looking at that Gladiators performance and how they essentially just got a bit of a walk into the finals of the Countdown Cup. If you're thinking, wow, Chengdu Hunters almost beat them, you got to consider them to be, you know, I guess the second strongest team almost in this tournament.
There's also there are also questions of team styles. A lot of the teams that we have here have very different styles of what they like,
especially in this tournament cycle.
Yeah, and Chengdu and Gladiators are pretty malleable. Actually, Seoul are to some degree as well, but they don't look quite as comfortable on certain things, and definitely try to lean more into the Orisa-esque stuff. But Chengdu's been playing a lot of that too. All four of our teams have been playing a ton of Orisa against each other. And here it looks like Chengdu bringing it out on defense to begin with, whereas Seoul are going for this Winston Ana-base comp. As a reminder, they tried this on their final round of Ilios, and it failed because they couldn't get the ults online. Here, when they're attacking, it's almost impossible for it to fail to the same degree. They have control over how Gesture engages, they can try and keep him alive, just feed the Nano Boost into it, and they should be able to get this ult cycle going, at least once.
Assuming they can set up into the right positions for it. You can see the bubble will get dropped there at the choke point. Prophet has to use the dash just to try and get with the rest of the team here. And they're going to try and set up a really good engage. A nice neutral hack, a bio-nade perhaps. Something to really get the machine going that is the ult economy. Oh, wow. That's Leave taken out. That's a dive attempt, and it's worked out beautifully for them. Still the 1-for-1. Animo falls, so the Chengdu Hunters are not going to be going down that easily. Nothing toppling just yet.
They've taken good positioning though. Seoul have got their players into nice positions. The thing is, they're not actually taking any damage and Gesture isn't doing any poke. So they're not really helping to build it up. Here's a bit of a soft dive up onto the high ground.
Yeah, Prophet eating a bit of damage there from Monk. And look at those shurikens he laid in earlier. That's Fitz following up on it. Bit by bit, it seems like they might just be crumbling away here. And that's the res coming up online, but it gives them all the space in the world, especially Prophet tearing through them right now. This is the setup that you want to see from the Seoul Dynasty. This is how they wanted to take this team fight.
Brandon, is it just me, or does it feel like our two MVP candidates have got it in for each other? Prophet is going for Leave on Sombra in these situations. I think Fitz is targeting his Translocator, and then Prophet is going for the enemy Sombra and trying to shut him down immediately. Leave might have a rough map here.
Oh my goodness. Okay, what a sleep dart from Monk. There's no way to get their ass off. Are you kidding me? Around the corner, the Nanoboost is just being slapped onto Gesture. They're saying, all right, go on, lad, get in there. Doing some good work. Another sleep dart cancels up the barrage there from Jinmu. Unable to really get too much done from it. Gaga so weak. He's going to get chased down. The Seoul Dynasty, they've got a huge opening now. The Nanoboost was expended, but now the Seoul Dynasty are coming up on a whole war chest of ultimates. The Dragon Blade, the Primal Rage, all of it's coming up online very soon. EMP from Fitz, also ready and waiting. A small disengage to try and let them in. Now the ultimate's coming in though, and you can see Jinmu making a switch over to the Genji. just slice and dicing right through the opposition, but it's 2U collecting up all the kills off the back of the damage that Prophet's done. Still winnable now for either side, but the Seoul Dynasty have finally gained a bit of a foothold onto the point, onto the objective. They can start to eventually maybe get this D-Mech onto Lei Ying. There's a self-destruct that's going to be utilized to try and clear them away. Chengdu's still finding that the players are coming back into this one off the respawn. Seoul committing the ultimates. The EMP is used and it has locked up enough targets that they can get the kill onto Gaga at least. Still, it needs to be cleaner than this, Josh.
Yeah, Prophet is doing his absolute best, and 2U's trying to keep him alive. That Bionade from Monk, a posthumous Bionade that catches onto both of the tanks. And the Seoul Dynasty, they found one tick, but it might be all they're allowed. As Chengdu slowly filter back in from the spawn here, it looks like Seoul are going to have to disengage. But they're in a pretty decent position there, Brent. They managed to turn that around, punish Leave and Jinmu a bit, and now they can re-aggress with that Nano Blade. This could be another great opportunity for Seoul to get a second tick.
Yes, the unfortunate reality of the composition that Seoul are running is so much relies on these big moments of burst damage with the ultimates and the abilities all coming together. In long drawn-out fights like that where you let Chengdu get back in on the defense, it's almost futile to attempt it, but as you said, Josh, the ultimates are online now. That's going to be their key win condition, and Chengdu know it. That's why they're playing so aggressively. A very forward defense being played from them. Gaga's going to be eating up that Bionade. Just wants to back off, doesn't want to have to pop the Primal Rage for no reason. Especially with that kill onto Fitz, it means that the Chengdu Hunters are going to be breathing a sigh of relief as they take a bit of pressure off from them.
And here goes Gaga, deep into enemy territory again. He has that Primal available if he gets forced a little bit. They didn't use the Nano in the prior fight too. They were just trying to play off a dry hack from Jinmu. But as Gaga uses his lead to disengage, Seoul Dynasty, they sense an opportunity to move forwards. Prophet Hang, though, he can't draw the blade. He's been purpled as well. This Nano won't really help him. The Nano, none of the heal applies, and Evil just swings into him with the flail. You can see the look on his poor face. He was gobsmacked, couldn't believe what had just occurred. And the Chengdu Hunters are biting back with a vengeance. The Bionade from the back. That's Monk just setting up his team for success in this team fight. They've caught out Fitz as well, who has to translocate back. And now they just need to find the right targets. Hunting them down, Gaga just leading the charge as he leaps right on top of them. Another teamfight win here for the Chengdu Hunters, and disrupting the flow, not letting your opponents set up with the ultimates with positioning is the key to trying to get this hold online here for the Chengdu Hunters. They know the win conditions of their opponents. It's the makings of a good team. Absolutely, and we've always seen, or at least this season, that these aggressive defense on Anubis B are absolutely the way to go. Use your ultimates and don't give your opponents any time or space to get set up. Leaf can go for a pulse at some point here, but he has been pushed out. Seoul with a little bit of space, and immediately Chengdu respond. EMP and a self-destruct.
Yep, that's going to be committed into it. Leave as well, of course, is going to land the stick. Why not? Beat down around the back. Prophet can't deflect that. Good luck. Straight back to the respawn queue. Another one-team fight. And now, that time bank that was looking pretty nice off the back of Seoul's very quick checkpoint A capture. Down to 1 minute 20 seconds now. The good news is, look at the amount of ultimates they've got. If they're not going to be able to take it in this next team fight, when are they going to be able to do it?
But they're never giving them space to actually use these ultimates. Seoul Dynasty are always under pressure themselves. I think Fitz with the defensive EMP here would be huge.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
It's just happened again. This is the issue. They can alt cycle on defense and play aggressive. They're playing attack on defense here. All right, that pick is huge. The hack actually coming out from Fitz denies Gaga from being able to use his primal, but I don't think it's enough. Again, Leaf getting a kill. And it doesn't matter that Seoul Dynasty have the ult advantage. They're never in position to use them. That's why I'm saying I think it has to be on Fitz. If you can get a defensive EMP that catches the players going aggressive from Chengdu, that might be your only chance.
So I've got to try and invest this now.
There it is.
Here comes the EMP, and that's onto Gaga. He's not going to be able to use this Primal Rage. They spend a long time getting that kill, but eventually it does go their way. The elimination in hand, they're looking to press forward now across onto checkpoint B. It's got to be now or never. Dragon Blade in hand, Prophet knows. He's eyeing up the targets, and here it comes. The bubble's applied. Anubis still waiting though. Creative doesn't have line of sight of him. We're just holding on to it until the tail end of this fight. Maybe deeming it not necessary to try and win this one out. Okay, well now it's going to be used, and that's going to be the rallying brig knotted up as well. Overtime though in play. The Seoul Dynasty, they've got to close this one out. Chengdu Hunters are getting back into this one, and now they're getting the kills as well. Leaping right onto the bridge. It's Gesture of a Primal Rage. How many times have we seen this guy clutch it up in the past? He's got to do it right here, right now. He's created enough space for the team, but so
he didn't jump on the point.
You have got to be kidding me!
There was a conscious decision there from Gesture to try and gain value from his primal by jumping away from the objective. There must have been a comm from somebody else that they were going to take responsibility for the point, and yet it slips through the cracks again. It feels like it shouldn't happen at this level of Overwatch, but it does, because they're just trying to get every juicy little moment of value from those big ults. That is a heartbreaker for Seoul. Tuyu was getting kills as well. They might have had a chance of turning that and getting at least another tick.
I don't believe it's the first time as well so far in the Countdown Cup, if I'm remembering correctly.
Even we've seen some big old Charlie miners.
Yeah, I'm either remembering correctly or I'm just slandering Gesture, but let's take a look at it again. Because, yeah, there was, like you said, a conscious decision to try and create value, push a player towards his team, and maybe he thought he could get back in time, but I was looking at that timer. I mean, that was seconds away from being able to get back on. And those are the risks you got to take. Those are the risks you got to take if you want to try and win it out.
Fitz was on Tracer there. He had the opportunity perhaps to be able to blink to the point. Looked like his blinks were a little on cooldown and just about to get back up. Maybe he made the call that he could touch but then wasn't quite able to. Who knows? Things are going to get hectic in those overtime scenarios.
Oh yeah, of course.
But either way you slice it, opportunity here for Chengdu to win a relatively simple game on Anubis. Their defense was sublime. Monk hitting some unbelievable bionades to set them up for the win.
Yeah, Chengdu going to be kind of matching this composition. We've already talked about it to death on Seoul's attack. You know how it works by now. And for the Seoul Dynasty, looking to just try and disrupt it aggressively. Not allow the Chengdu Hunters to get into good positions. That is a leap. I think Gaga meant to just land onto the platform there. With him on the low ground, yeah, susceptible. Taken out pretty quickly there with the hack on top of the halt and pulling him all left, right, up, down. Didn't really have anywhere to go there. And a good stoppage there for the Seoul Dynasty, honestly. You can look now and see, okay, we've disrupted that initial approach. Starting to build up these ultimates. This EMP is coming online very quickly here for Fitz.
Incredibly quickly, because Fitz is playing in the front line, getting pocketed by Animo. Animo is putting his healing on Fitz so that he can play up in the front line, doesn't have to worry about the Brick Bash or anything like that, because he's got that constant healing. Oh, what a halt.
Oh,
what a halt from Gesture.
He saved the leap, so it's fine. It was the mind games upon mind games. You can see the hole coming, but it does not matter. Gaga's just deleted, eviscerated off the map. Nice little sleep dart setup though from Monk as well. That's Prophet that was on the floor, and Lee was able to get an easy little dash combo into the melee just to try and take him out. With the reset coming online, it's probably going to be another one in the books. And there you go, Animo falling has pretty much just secured that one. Nice and easy. I love that from Gaga though, just to revisit it as well. With the Anubis coming on, he knew, he was like, okay, well, they're going to halt me, because that's the only way to try and disrupt this. And if I use my leap beforehand, I got no way of getting onto the high ground. So he saves it. He takes a bunch of damage in the process, but it does allow him to take that little bit of space to set up his team to go in.
And Fitz, that EMP that he built up so quickly wasn't enough. And now they have to try and find a manual hack to turn this around. There's the Nano Barrage as well, set up on the back of it. Seoul, again, going for that aggressive defense like we know teams are going to do at this point. So what does Chengdu have to respond to this? That's the real question. What do they do differently with this 5-minute time bank? That's right. As much as it is looking a bit dismal, I will say it's still a winnable scenario for the Seoul Dynasty. 62.4% was all they were able to accrue. And they do have to make sure that Chengdu don't get in. Here's the problem. When Chengdu were defending, they were rotating their ultimates. Seoul don't actually have an ult that they can use to win here. Unless Fitz gets a neutral hack on someone and they can try and go for the self-destruct, they can't really go for those hyper-aggressive defenses because they don't have the Nano, they don't have a Primal, don't have EMP, don't even have a Pulse Bomb. They're going to go for it, but this seems dangerous to me. They landed a Bionade on Monk. They did land the Bionade, but they immediately have to turn their attention to the point here. It creates a bit of an opening. A lot of space just opens up there. That's just off the back of Jinmu trying to get that pick there onto Creative. But in the end, they do manage to hold here. And every single teamfight win like that matters for them, just to try and at least build up an ultimate to try and cycle into another one. They have the EMP. Yeah, I would say that prior teamfight was the most important for Seoul, because now they can start their ult cycling. They want to try and get in a position here where they can aggressively EMP. And you can see Fitz down there in the corner. Jinmu's going to get pressured out of this. And Fitz is setting up, waiting for Gesture to try and helping on the engaged. They want these backline players to be in a vulnerable scenario in front of the choke point so that there's a choke point at their back. But they've taken too long.
An EMP engage. Yep, Chengdu. I mean, they got into the right positioning for it. This is going to be a magical setup to deflect from leave. Might not even be necessary. Jimmu was there. Creative gets taken out, but Seoul investing the ultimates into this one. It's going to be the primal. Gesture has managed to get a bit of work done with it. Potentially enough to turn it around. Unfortunately for Seoul, though, that's 43% accrued there for the Chengdu Hunters. A tick online. They have to be so careful now about that objective, about that point. Otherwise, they could just slip away from them.
Yeah, Gesture doing a phenomenal job. He found 2 with his primal that turned things around in the favor of Seoul, because they really dropped the ball there from a strategic point of view. Hunters have made some compositional swaps, going for a bit more stability in the backline as Leaf moves away from the Genji, and now Gaga picking up ball too. They're really trying to play defense on attack right now. The hack on Gesture could be crucial, but I don't think anyone can punish. He's just hiding.
It's looking like he's eyeing up. There it is, the Electric Cowboy. Okay, why not? Lead the charge. Leaf's going to be barreling through, straight over the bridge. Looking to try and hit a couple of heads, but Prophet in the back line. Yeah, his job is done. See you later, Prophet says. He's going to be backing out of there, but he needs to be a bit more concerned now from this pressure that's being applied onto the point. 55% already coming up now for the Chengdu Hunters. Someone has to touch this right now, otherwise it is all over. The South Destructs push them all away, and they're just trying to dodge and juke in and off the point. The Seoul Dynasty just trying to keep this one going as best as they can, but it's not enough. The Chengdu Hunters, in a blink of an eye, just find their space that they needed. They break onto checkpoint B, and they're going to wrangle out Anubis, taking it away from the Seoul Dynasty here. This is an early lead right now, Josh. 2-0 in this series.
And Leaf comes up with the goods again. I mean, so many of this team's resources are invested into him, whether it is that nano blade that they play around, or, from the EMP, or whether it's him, like you said, with the Electric Cowboy, just comes in nano boosted, and he's able to take all of that rally armor and turn the team fight around. Seoul, with a serious lack of proactivity, is letting this series slip away from them, and with it, that guaranteed playoff spot.
One map away is really what stands between them getting knocked out of the Countdown Cup. They want to be playing and trying to deny that opportunity from even getting to that point, but it's not looking too hot at the moment. Still, Chengdu Hunters playing with a lot of pizzazz, and they're looking to take it just that one step further. We'll find out in map 3 just how this series might be continuing or concluding.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Go to takemetomanoa.org today.
The frag video contest is back, and we want to see your best compilation videos of the top frags from the Countdown Cup tournament for a chance to win $3,000. Find out more at blizzard.wishpond.com/countdown-cup. Quite a mouthful, but I'm sure you can find a link for your chance to win $3 grand. That's a lot of money, Josh. What would you spend $3,000 on?
Oh, you've put me on the spot right now. I'm not sure. What would I do? Maybe I'd commission a frag video of all of my greatest plays from ranked. You know,
That'd be a short video.
No, it wouldn't. It'd be extraordinarily long video. It'd be a feature movie length. That's why it would cost $3,000.
Wow. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Yeah, good luck. I mean, maybe it would cost that much because they'd have to literally edit your name over other people's clips. Is that why?
Yeah, they call me the Leaf of Platinum because I'm gonna steal Leaf's play of the game clips and just put my name over the top instead.
It's like, oh, that's weird. You're in a game with Gaga and Lake. That's weird. Okay, well.
Brent, we are staring at the precipice here of the Chengdu Hunters being able to revoke the Seoul Dynasty's license to that guaranteed playoff spot. Chengdu have been the better performers in most people's eyes for the majority of the season. So it's interesting that they're even in this spot where they're having to play against Seoul, but their regular season record was lagging behind the Tigers. So this game to me feels like them just dismantling their only elite tier Eastern competition that they've had to face in the Countdown Cup. Before this, Brent, the reason that I was not confident in Chengdu being able to take this tournament or even beat the Seoul Dynasty particularly was because the people that they've played against, they played against two teams in the Countdown Cup that went 0-4, and then they played against two teams that went 2-2 as well. So they didn't play against the toughest regular season competition when it came to this stage. And so I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe they're not as hot as we thought they were coming out of the summer.
Yeah, they haven't been tested.
Yeah, they haven't been tested. We don't know where their real skill ceiling is. But after having seen how they performed against the Gladiators and how even that match was, and now how much they're just dismantling Seoul and playing such a fundamentally better game, it does look like for the Countdown Cup they are the best team in the East.
3, 2, 1.
One map away. And over the course of the franchise history, I mentioned it earlier, but it's Seoul Dynasty with one match lead, 5-4 overall. If Chengdu end up taking this, they'll bring it up nice and even. Nice 5-5 record overall for the history between both of these teams. And more importantly, securing that playoff spot, which is going to be monumental, honestly. The difference between having to play in the play-ins itself and just locking yourself up for the playoffs can't be underestimated.
Really can't. I want to see Brent here, Prophet and Fitz, trying to take aggressive dives into the Chengdu backline. You cannot allow them to just escort this backline safely into Snacks Ramas. I think they might have... Oh, there it is. Okay, Prophet managing to find, with the help of the Discord Orb, that pick onto Monk. They had that short timing window, and I was worried because Gesture didn't look like he was involved in the fight whatsoever, but they have managed to do it. Good execution there. You have to fight them before they get into this enclosed area. Otherwise, it's so difficult to dig them out.
Yeah, nice. Applying, honestly, of the Discord Orb from Creative there, finding that angle on the one target they needed, essentially Monk, and just latching it on. I mean, I don't know what the exact timing is when it comes to like breaking the line of sight of the Discord Orb by standing outside of it. It's like a couple of seconds. Yeah, but it's that tiny window of opportunity you were talking about. To just you have to capitalize on it. You have to.
Creative Zen was superb in the prior series. Look at that punish again. Gesture goes down, but Monk just destroyed and leave quick to follow. Seoul are playing this so much more aggressively than their Anubis defense. I love it.
Yeah, this is a much better look from them. They were just led in by the transcendence of Creative. He's just been pumping in the damage from the high ground, so he built it up very quickly. Monk's only on 50%.
He's about to lap Monk.
Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous.
You do not see that very often. Yeah, Creative is actually going to lap his opposition when it comes to Transcendence Charge. I'm telling you, man, Creative, he doesn't play the Zen all that often. I think people know him more for his Ana plays and stuff, but his Zen has been looking tasty recently. And this is more so on Animo. Oh, yeah, they heard that sound cue, but this mind game now comes between Animo and Jinmu. Can Animo get the rally off before Jinmu pops EMP? Or are Seoul just going to be the aggressors themselves? I'd prefer that.
They're giving him a lot of space up here. That's an EMP. It's going to catch onto the backline. The Chengdu Hunters a bit susceptible here. The Seoul Dynasty are going to be using that rally to engage forwards. Jinmu, the presence of mind, is going to be holding onto the EMP for now, but now lets it rip. That's creative. He did catch it onto him, and Leighton is going to follow up off of that ultimate. With the mine scattered across, Seoul really don't have an option to try and play into this one here. Pulse bomb, bit of a whiff there from Prophet, not able to find the target he was potentially looking for. Chengdu have been now given a lot of space up onto the point. Another good neutral hack. Prophet really can't be blinking into the opposition to try and set up a lot of the kills and plays off the back of what Gesture's doing and creating in the back line here.
They might go back in on this though. Gesture is pretty close. If you can find a roll through. No. Oh, they are. They're going to go for it. Prophet just blinks in with Harmony Orb.
It's just trying to farm up something there. That's going to be the Transcendence now coming through. It's creative using it. It's the second one so far. It's Gesture taken out though. South Destruct pushes them away for but a moment, but Seoul, they're quick back onto the point to not let it lapse back over. 99.3% still could be anyone's game. Bit of a pulse bomb whip there, but it still gets the job done. That's Leave finding 2 in that fight, and they have secured it up. They'll be awarded now 3 minutes to try and make their best mark onto checkpoint B here of Blizzard World.
So Seoul invested a trance to try and just tick the time down a little further. They weren't able to flip the point back and keep the defense in their control, so they've set Creative's Transcendence right back to 0. That means that Jinmu gets a free EMP in the middle of this, if their team can set up. The defending team normally gets priority access to the high ground, for example, which makes it easier for Seoul to be the aggressors if they want to be, and there it is again. It's Fitz that decides to EMP much earlier on, and Seoul are just crushing this backline. Jinmu left, just running around, trying to even get in position for the fight in the first place.
Yeah, a clean team fight win there for Seoul. Definitely what we wanted to see from them on this map. Especially when it's their tournament hopes and dreams on the line, and their playoff hopes and dreams, when I say that, in terms of them actually securing an easy spot. A lot of implications off the back of this match. But now Jinmu, this entire time with the EMP, he set it up, he's going to let it rip, and that is a nice connection. The backline couldn't do anything, Animo hacked up, so couldn't end up armor packing his backline. Not going to be those heals coming through for them. Monk's still alive, has a Transcendence in hand, and you can see him with that Discord Orb just sending in the volleys onto the high ground there. Fitz has to just try and dodge and juke and eventually purge off that Discord Orb, but this card is moving forward at a very steady pace. Now the rally comes through. Seoul, they want to be taking this fight. Monk has still this Transcendence, but it looks like Chengdu is going to rotate, wait it out, and they're not being pressured here, Joe.
No, they're going to choose this time to go back in. Gaga takes a hack there, and he's got Discord Orb on him. But instead, Tuyu taken out of mech, and Seoul didn't invest a trance. The trance comes late. Prophet only just managing to get unstuck. But the stick, oh my word, the pulse bomb lands.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. Every time I see it, it's absurd. To find a pulse bomb onto the opposition, and now this is steadily moving forwards. That self-destruct, Tuyu knows just how to dodge it. Straight down into the ground to try and avoid the worst of that self-destruct. Prophet's back into the action. It's not over just yet. Chengdu fighting for every opportunity to try and push them away and off this point, but now the respawns are coming back in. 35 seconds left for the Chengdu Hunters, and it's Seoul Dynasty who have managed to hold on.
Jinmu just trying to spam, generate the last part of his EMP. He knows that this final push is going to be about his ultimate and Evil Tolls. They can come in with a rally for sustain and then answer with an EMP. And Seoul, they're still going to be hard-pressed in these final 10 seconds. Prophet could be the miracle maker that you've seen from him so many times before if he just lands this one.
Wow, that's even gone. Has to shield bash just to the side, but it doesn't even matter. Prophet's hunting down. Everyone is in your back line. It's not quite 5 AM, but he'll make it work. And now you can see him just getting pick after pick. The overtime burning down, but the Chengdu Hunters had a chance in hell of trying to push this one over the checkpoint B. Be able to touch it just to keep that overtime moving, but with the rally armor that Animo is just putting out, good luck, and that clump of mines, no chance of touching it. Stop just shy of that checkpoint B. This is now looking like such a winnable map for the Seoul Dynasty.
And what a play from Prophet. He had to be that miracle worker for the Seoul Dynasty, and he did. Hitting the stick onto Evil Toll when he's at, I think, 97% of his rally, and then taking down Monk, who's just undefended afterwards. He just rips through the backline of Chengdu single-handedly. Those are the plays that you know and love from Prophet when he gets onto the Tracer. And I had so many questions about Prophet v Leave in terms of who could get the upper hand on the other when it came to the Tracer performances. I think leaves ahead in a lot of the statistical comparisons that you can look at when it comes to Tracer, but Prophet is just so good at it, finding those crucial timings to make the big impact plays. And it's been a heater so far, watching the battle go back and forth between the two of them. This is winnable for both squads, though. I don't want to call it too early, Brent. That point B of Blizzard World, when you're running compositions like this, where everyone is hyper-mobile and can get back from spawn really quickly, it is so difficult to push checkpoint B. That spawn advantage becomes massively favored for the defenders.
Yeah, especially if you take you think about it in terms of maybe taking a nasty fight on checkpoint A, getting pushed over pretty quickly on it, but already the mobile comps have already taken up high ground control, denying all that space. It becomes really difficult to get a good push attempt through. So no, you're completely right. It's a very winnable series still for the Chengdu Hunters on this particular map as well, which will close out the series. Leave is just waiting, doing a bit of scouting here. He's on the Sombra as well, which he hasn't looked as clean on compared to his other roles, but maybe this is just a bit of scouting for them.
Well, specifically, Seoul Dynasty there were going to come out playing the Sombra Tracer and ended up moving Gesture over to Winston and putting Fitz on hit scan so that he can apply a bit of pressure to Jinmu. So now they have somewhat of an answer to push Jinmu away and make sure that he's not uncontested in the skies.
Some rapid shots that Fitz is hitting. I mean, someone check this guy's mouse still. Jinmu's going to be able to get the rockets, find them anyway. Damage boosted, applied onto it, and a nice sleep into the back. They don't get a kill. Profit. He just ended up recalling out.
Yeah, he just recalled out. That's a bit of a mess up from Chengdu there, not timing their own damage with Jinmu's rocket coming in. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to be too bothered by it. Jinmu's already got up to a barrage, for goodness sake, just by doing that damage to the backline. And comboing with Gaga, there's so many natural synergies between the pile drive and shooting rockets at your opponents that even though in theory hitscan good against Farah, it doesn't often work out that way. They have so many things that can make Fitz life hell.
Said that like a caveman. Hitscan good against Farah. Well, here comes the barrage. Try and stop this one. It's not happening. That's creative, taken out nice and early there, but the Seoul Dynasty, of course, are committing it again. A bit of the electric cowboy plays. The two falling, no. Fitz needs to find something. These shots are just not quite finding, and look at that pressure being applied. He's going to be able to get that health back. Just dodging, juking round the corner. The Somensu plays. Man, the hammer. Oh my goodness, eventually taken out, and the res onto Gaga. But still, now Seoul have all of this space onto the point. The bubble just going to be breaking in between them, and Seoul is definitely getting the players back in to try and take this fight.
Prophet needs to recall, take a little bit of the rally armor coming out from Animo here. Chengdu look like they want to try and re-engage on this. They've got a minefield, and they're about to have a nano, which you've got to expect to be applied to Jinmu. They need to take down Monk early here. That would be huge for Seoul.
Yeah, Fitz falling, not ideal for them. Prophet almost getting evil, but just about getting into the safe clutches there of Jinmu playing high up into the sky. Big Bionade onto Gesture as well. He's going to be pushed away in the middle of that Primal Rage. That's on Monk, honestly. A lot of the individual impacts, these Bionades, these sleeps, even an Anubis target priority, it's all been coming online to really cement the Chengdu Hunters win here against Seoul so far. That's a sleep done onto Jinmu though. Just as I was gassing up the opposition, they do get it, but not enough to get the kill. A good peel coming through off to the side, and Fitz falls again.
Yeah, Fitz has not been having a nice time down here. He's
what is happening?
To put a limit on Jinmu, but Jinmu's playing the indoor Farah. Everyone fears that.
Yeah, a little bit of 2019 Jinmu coming out to play there. Just some glimpse of it. Just an absolute nutcase play. Still contesting the point up, the Seoul Dynasty, with Prophet with the post bomb, almost getting it, not quite though, and they've split themselves up. What a sleep dart again. Monk just finding them, and that surely has put an end to this push. The mines are going to be committed on top of that. The EMP is going to be scattered across the point, and it's locked up enough targets that they should be able to win out this fight. Still, it's going to be another big Bionade from Creative. They need to deal with this back line. A lot of damage pushed into them there. Mega health back. Animo. Oh, not going to be able to grab it. Just trying to get it. Oh my goodness. Gaga, you cannot lose this fight.
It's nonsense from Seoul though. That fight should have been over a minute ago, and they invested ults in it. They threw bodies towards it. Now they're staggering with 10 seconds left and nothing to play with. What can they do here? Does Tuyu find 7? No.
No, I mean, the bomb gets nothing. Can anybody even touch? Yes. It's Fitz who has to try and get this overtime going. But Chengdu Hunters, this is it. Someone needs to try and get onto this point. The Seoul Dynasty, desperate to keep this one moving. But where are the ultimates online? Jinmu's in the back line with the barrage, and he's already gotten 2. Animo trapped into the corner once again. Not the place you want to be when you've got a rocket launcher in your face, that's for sure. And an Anubis might not even be necessary. It's just a little bit of a celebration at the end. Some fireworks to celebrate the Chengdu Hunters moving forwards into the Countdown Cup and securing this win against the Seoul Dynasty. You can see just a walk in the park for them, almost clinical on their faces. They don't even seem to be happy about what they've achieved here today, but they have secured up that second playoff spot in the Eastern Division, and more importantly than that as well, in the immediate short term, they're going to be moving forwards in the Countdown Cup.
Great stuff from Chengdu. Such a clean series. They didn't really look even to be challenged in that many scenarios. They cleanly won the first map. That final round was easy peasy. They strategically played Anubis far superiorly to what we saw from Seoul, and then they just full hold the Dynasty when it comes to Blizzard World. Excellent performance there from Chengdu. And overall as well, I gotta say, Seoul Dynasty coming up, turning up to their first stage final and taking 4th, it did seem like there was some lack of big game experience coming out from these players. And perhaps that's going to be useful for them as they head towards the playoffs. You wouldn't expect to hear that from a team that has Profit, Gesture, that have made 2 grand finals before and won one of them in the league. But from the team as a whole, the decisions they were making, the fights they were choosing to take, it was almost arrogance coming out from Seoul, that they thought they could win fights, that they should have taken a moment to just have that patience and reset. That was a theme that happened all the way from map 1, and it caused them problems again there on Blizzard World. They really seem to lack that that patient, calm figure within the team that was helping keep them on track.
Yeah, let's take a look at our player of the match, actually, and it's going to go to an individual that has been almost like the subtle carry over the course of this series. You might be expecting, you know, the usual carry players, but this time we're going to be giving it to Monk, honestly, for the individual players on that flex support role. The Zenyatta just hitting these volleys from across the map, but also the Ana play has been fantastic. The Bionase, the Sleeps, everything to try and set the team up. Really, just an integral figure within the team.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Monk's been a relatively recent addition to being on people's radars as a top-level flex support since the Summer Showdown, but there were so many scenarios in this game where a crucial Bionade was landed or a crucial Sleep Dart, and it just set up his team for success in fights where they really didn't have an advantage outside of that. And on the Ana, even on the Zen when he was playing it too, he had some great performances there. I think this is deserved. Obviously, Leave playing excellently as usual too, but this was a particularly excellent game from Monk.
Yeah, especially when you consider, you know, Seoul Dynasty. So much of sometimes their game plan seems to revolve around just brute force, Profit, getting these pickoffs in the backline. Being able to shut down those key players with a Sleep Dart or the Bionade just to push them away for crucial moments is honestly kind of like the subtle carry performance that you love to see. That's what Monk was able to pull off today in this match. It's not over though for the Chengdu Hunters coming off the back of this one. They're going to be jumping right into another match. We've got an interview with Lee that's coming up, so you've got that to look forward to. But of course, another match here, the lower bracket finals of the Countdown Cup is coming up soon enough, and that is going to be a juicy one, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I like that we've got a completely different matchup in our lower bracket final to what we saw at the beginning portion as well. Again, a big clash of styles between the team that likes to play ball and the team that likes to play a lot of like the Torbjorn kind of stuff too.
Absolutely. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I know the desk is going to want to break it down. Of course, that interview as well coming up shortly. But don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Even more Overwatch League action as we continue with the Countdown Cup playoffs kicking off right here, right now.
Aloha! And welcome to Game Break. I'm Emily, and we are joined by one of your MVP candidates. It's Leave. Hello, 李凯，恭喜你们，恭喜你们。
Hello.
So, Leave, congratulations. This was such an important match for you. Not only did you guys got through your first round of the losers bracket, but you guys have secured the second seed in the APAC region. But you must be kind of conflicted. Like, can you guys kind of take a, sigh of relief right now, or are you more stressed about this next upcoming match? So, 再次恭喜你们拿下了这场败者组的比赛。但同时呢，你们也锁定了东部区第2名的位置，所以离开我想知道的就是你现在心里有什么感受？是可以松了一口气呢，还是为下一场比赛紧张呢？
都有吧。我们确实也是松了一口气，然后确定了季后赛资格嘛。但是紧接着还有这个倒计时杯需要打，马上要跟亚兰大对阵，所以还是不能放松。
So as expected, he's feeling a little bit of both. Obviously, they're really happy that they took down Seoul and secured their second seed, but they have the Atlanta Reign waiting for them up next. And that actually is a great transition for my second question. This is actually the first time that the Hunters will be facing against the Reign this 2021 season. So who do you guys think is the biggest threat on the Reign? And, did you guys have enough time to prepare? So, 离开你也知道这是你们2021年赛季第一次面对君临队，你觉得君临队当中哪一位选手最凶，或者是给你们的危险比较大呢？
君临的话应该是 Pelican 吧，对，因为他也是 MVP 提名的候选人嘛，所以还是很期待和他交手。但是听说他们好像聘值出了一点状况。
是的，240多。那你觉得从现在到下一场比赛，你们有充分的时间准备这场比赛吗？
说老实话，其实是时间比较紧的，但是我们也会全力以赴了，就是打出自己的东西嘛。对。
All right, so I'm sure you guys probably heard that Leave mentioned Pelican. He said that he believes Pelican is probably the biggest threat from the Atlanta Reign because Pelican is also one of the MVP candidates, and he's actually really looking forward to facing off against Pelican. But he did also hear about the 240 ping issue, so we'll see. And then I also asked a follow-up question, which was, do you guys have time to prepare for the Reign? And he said, time is a little bit tight, but we will play our best because we want to win the Countdown Cup. So that's all I have because the Hunters need to go and prep for this next match. I'll shut up now. But again, thank you so much, Lee. 好，谢谢离开，我就不多说了，你们去好好准备吧，祝你们今天晚上一帆风顺。好，谢谢离开。All right,
拜拜。
Bye bye, Likai. That is all from me, you guys. Congrats again to the Chengdu Hunters. Mahalo, and back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Emily. Always great to hear from her. And of course, also, it's always great to hear from the Chengdu Hunters. That was Leaf. Thank you so much. And they just not only secured their next match against the Atlanta Reign, but they also secured that coveted playoff spot alongside the Shanghai Dragons. So that's already one big W out of the way for the Chengdu Hunters. And let's see if they can keep the ball rolling. As we said, next matchup is going to be against the Atlanta Reign. Of course, we're going to dive into that one and kind of try to dissect the action which is about to unfold. However, we do also want to talk about the match we just saw. And quite frankly, this was actually so clean from the Chengdu Hunters. I am very, very impressed with what they have been showcasing so far in the Countdown Cup, and specifically today. Now on the other side though, Seoul Dynasty, I gotta say, they were all over the place. I'm sorry, but like, I don't know what that game plan was coming into this.
Yeah, I think they were a bit scattered. Their compositional choices at times was a little bit off. It didn't seem like they were ready to take on the Chengdu Hunters in this matchup, knowing what the Chengdu Hunters can actually bring to the table. They had a chance here on Ilios, then they brought out this Nano Genji composition. Couldn't really get the ultimates out, to be honest. So, I mean, that's a failure in and of itself. A bit of a shame they didn't end up capping Temple of Anubis. I think they deserved to cap Point B here on their offense because they had those ultimates. There were several fights that went the distance. Don't want to talk about this. I can't even believe, why did we show this highlight? Like the lowlights, sorry. Like, we didn't need to show that. The audience could have forgotten about it. But yes, I feel like the Seoul Dynasty, they could have capped out Point B there, but instead, the Chengdu Hunters hold firm, and they are going 2-0 in the series. We go over to Blizzard World again, Seoul Dynasty, with a pretty stalwart defense here, holding the Chengdu Hunters to 1 point. That is pretty admirable. I think they had a good Point A defense, but, I mean, they just couldn't execute on offense. Profit threw away a couple of pulse bombs. Anemo was staggering himself, just hugging a Mega, and they couldn't really take Jindu out of the sky, even though Tuyu tried his hardest on this D.Va. So, for the Seoul Dynasty, bit of a disappointment in my opinion. I was hoping that this series would go a lot closer, because when you actually think about it, big picture, Seoul Dynasty, they got second last year. This was the team that lost, in large part, this was the team that lost to the San Francisco Shock in last year's Grand Finals. And yes, they had Marvel playing the off-tank and Toby was the main support for that team. But in large part, I don't think Tuyu was a major setback for this team this season, this stage level on this match. Yes, I didn't agree with him swapping over to Sari at times. If anything, I think this team misses Toby sometimes and his presence on that main support role. But all in all, Seoul Dynasty, they got second in last year's Overwatch League Grand Finals. And I was hoping that they'd come alive and give us a map 5 here against the Chengdu Hunters, because I think that's what we all really wanted to see, a close match between these two teams. Instead, as you said, Zoe, Chengdu Hunters with a very clean 3-0, setting themselves up for a rematch against Atlanta Reign in our next match. Not even a rematch, just a new match.
Yeah, actually, I'm very excited to see how they will, stack up against one another. Now, this means Hunters stay alive, but more importantly, with that win, they do secure that playoff spot. I can't stress it enough just how important that is, given just how many talented teams we have in both regions. So, if you can avoid the play-ins, you definitely want to avoid the play-ins, and that's exactly what the Chengdu Hunters did. Now, Dynasty will have to compete in those play-ins starting on September the 5th. Now, shifting gears, the stage is set for our final match of the night, and it is both our #1 seeds facing off against one another to see who will get to meet the Gladiators in our Countdown Cup finals tomorrow. Now, of course, Chengdu, they're coming off of a very clean victory. Now they go up against the Atlanta Reign, who, I mean, they had a brutal start to their day. It was equally dominant, but not from their side, right? So they got not only a big L, but then also, of course, there's the added unfortunate circumstance that they had to sub out Pelican, not being able to play him due to that ping issue. How do they stack up against one another with Edison in the mix? Like, how will that affect them stylistically?
Yeah, I don't expect to see them try and go back to Pelican, as considering the ping issues, especially on Pharah, the main hero that Pelican would come into play. It's just, on high ping, playing Pharah is actually impossible, I would say. The fact that they actually did quite well, Pelican actually did quite well in that first map, is a testament to how good of a player he is. But for me, the Atlanta Reign, you're not playing against the Gladiators anymore. You're dealing with a completely different beast, because the Chengdu Hunters, as we know, are going to run a lot of this Pharah compositions with Leave either on that, Sombra or the Tracer. So I want to see more of their bunker style. I want to see them lean on Edison, maybe playing that Torbjorn or playing that Tracer while Kai plays that hit scan, and try and play that slower composition that we know and love them for, because they're not going to have to deal with what the Gladiators threw at them, which was that Zen Baptiste mirror bunker style. That's just not what Chengdu does at all. So I think if you're the Atlanta Reign, you just completely forget about that Gladiators match. You need to dispose it from your mind, because if they get caught up on that idea that maybe their composition isn't the best, I think they're going to struggle against the Chengdu Hunters. For me, it's about them coming in with a solid mental. It is hard to bounce back from a brutal 3-0 that the Gladiators just served them.
Absolutely. It is time to take a look at our predictions for this match. One more chance for me and Danny to catch up a little bit. So, let's see where we're leaning out. I have a strong sense that we may or may not have all picked the same thing. I'm going to kick this one off with a heavy heart. I think it is going got to be going in the Hunters' favor. Usually I would say, you know, like Atlanta, even though they got the big L, you know, they had time to rest and whatnot. But quite frankly, Chengdu made their series look easy. Like, I don't think there was any strain involved there. If anything, that was a warm-up. And that means they could just keep on rolling. So, yeah, with the uncertainty about the roster and with that, like all of that taken into account, I just think this one is probably the Hunters one to win. But I do want to see the Atlanta Reign coming out on top. But I mean, yeah, what it is.
I 100% agree with Zoe. I think that was exactly what I wanted to say as well. Normally, I would choose for the team that had a little bit of rest because Chengdu Hunters are coming in right after their first match. They're going right into their second match. But like Zoe said, it seemed like a warm-up game for the Hunters. So, and also with the given fact, like Zoe again mentioned, you know, Atlanta Reign having a little bit of issues with Pelican and Edison coming in abruptly. So I think I'm gonna go with the Chengdu Hunters.
I'm gonna incline to agree. I'm gonna go with the Chengdu Hunters. I will say though, I'm not sold by how the Hunters are playing. They weren't the team. They're not playing to the level I expected them coming into this playoffs for the Countdown Cup. Even in that match against Seoul, I think Seoul more lost to themselves than lost to the Chengdu Hunters. I think they are susceptible. The Hunters are susceptible to getting countered and not having an answer to that problem. So if Atlanta has that secret sauce, if Kai pops off, it can be done. But I think that's an uphill battle for the Atlanta Reign, and I think Chengdu Hunters are the favorites.
Yeah, and I agree. I'll also be predicting the Chengdu Hunters for this one. And we can't dismiss how good the Atlanta Reign have been so far in the Countdown Cup. And we talk a lot about Pelican, but Hawk has also been an amazing D.Va, ranked 6th in the Overwatch League in terms of all players. We've got a solid backline with Iris and Masa as well. So I'm really hoping that this one's a close one. Maybe go to 5 maps. I'd really enjoy that. So the Atlanta Reign, they could bring this one close, but I think Chengdu Hunters are favored.
Right on. Yeah, not a huge surprise to see us all going, you know, the same direction. And I did just hear that there's some news regarding their starting 6. I don't know if we want to talk about that or if we just handing that nugget of wisdom over to our casters.
Oh.
No, F them. We're gonna. Oh man.
Let's go.
You know,
Is anyone?
I so want to swap my pick.
Oh,
I kind of.
Zoe,
Should we do it?
Just
Zoe.
do it.
Am I
Commit.
doing it? I'm doing it.
It's the rookie of the year.
You know what? I'm doing.
Listen
Zoe,
to
I'm going
him.
with you.
committing.
Zoe, I'll go with
Oh my
you.
God,
Listen
are we
to
running
him.
it back, Danny?
All right, let's go. No, yeah, no. Yeah. If this is
whatever. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
they're gonna,
Like,
yeah.
I don't think I can catch Costa anymore in our predictions. I'm still
Hey,
behind him.
I'm the lowest. I'm just
Danny
having fun.
and Reinforce can't catch me. So I got 2nd place secured no matter what. So
All right.
why just do it. Danny, let's do it.
Yeah,
I
me
can't
too.
believe
Let's
you've
do
done
it.
this.
Let's do it. I'm down. Yeah. I mean, if I, you know, if I go,
my hand. Oh no.
if I go the same team with Johnny, I'm just gonna be last
switching to
anyways.
Atlanta.
I'll
Danny
take my
and I are
chances. Yes.
switching. Exactly.
Let's go, Atlanta.
We just hyped ourselves up with this. Just
Yeah,
based
let's
on
go.
Pelican being back in. There we go. It
can't
is
be
coming,
understated.
Don't worry. It's gonna be
That, like,
yeah.
Everyone
What an
is afraid of
absolute
Pelican. Even Leave in that post-game interview, he's like,
I'm afraid of
we're
Pelican."
afraid of Lee, we're afraid of Pelican, but he's not going to play with high ping. If they did manage to get it lower, like one of the issues that Pelican was having is that it was just high for whatever, you know, I don't understand the internet along with everyone else. Apparently it was really high. If they have managed to get it back to what it was yesterday and he can play at that level, it could be everything's back on the menu for Atlanta because they do play so well when they have that flexibility of Pelican, especially on that Barra.
What a throw this is.
Absolutely.
I can't believe you guys throw.
Throw?
Johnny,
This isn't a
Johnny,
throw.
let them do it.
This
No,
is,
No, we
this is
genuinely
like me.
believe. I genuinely
This
believe.
is like me predicting London against Toronto. I'm not even kidding.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, that's nothing like
Hey,
this.
hey.
There is actually nothing like that.
That was a throw.
I'm not.
This isn't. No, yeah, this isn't that. It's
The match
Like,
haven't even
at
started
best,
and
it's
they're
a
already
push
on
or a
podium.
toss, but it's not a throw. no, I'm high on Atlanta.
No.
What can I say? Well, it is time to hand it over to Brennan Sideshow with the big question: are Danny and I throwing? Don't say no. Don't say yes. Actually, I don't know what I want to hear.
I'll tell you what, I was going to say, if you all went Chengdu, what I was going to intro with was, well, I'm looking at the starting lineup and there's an interesting thing in there.
We took that away from you,
I do
sorry.
think Here's the thing about the Atlanta Reign. They're a team that they wear their heart on their sleeves, I think, a lot of the time. And I think probably going into that match as well, we've seen it in prior tournaments as well, some of the players posting on social media about their mentality during a tournament. I don't think it's been particularly strong in the past. They're definitely a team that I think if they had like a bit of a bad start, where Pelican's like, oh guys, I'm really not hitting my shots, sorry, my internet's so bad. That, I think, did affect them, I would say, pretty soundly. They looked a little bit, withdrawn in that prior match that we've seen. If Pelicans fixed his issues, I could see a bit of a reinvigorated Atlanta Reign trying to do a bit of a lower bracket, run back here into the finals to really showcase what they've got against the Gladiators.
That's the thing. They're an emotional team that can swing both ways, as much as can break their mental. Like they can come in with so much vigor. I mean, have you seen how angry Kai looked in his player cam?
That was the most emotions I've ever seen.
I was taken aback by it. So
it's the default expression of roadmen in the UK. That's just the default. We're just born with that. That's like the default male one in the character creation.
He was also typing constantly to Kevster all the time. Every time he got a kill on him, he'd be typing something. So I don't know whether he knows Mandarin, but maybe he can try and get in Chengdu's heads as well.
Everyone
Possibly,
understands a question mark. Everyone, if you see a question mark, you're going to be upset about it. So that's all I'm saying.
That's true, actually, yeah. I imagine it does probably transcends. I'm not too sure. Does it? I don't know. I guess it does. Yeah.
Hopefully.
I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know either. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye to all of you on the desk.
Bye.
Thank you very much for that little lead in as well, as we're heading into our next match here. And yeah, the Atlanta Reign versus the Chengdu Hunters. Josh, I'm hoping that the Atlanta Reign have got their heads in the game. Pelican, he's got his internet issues sorted, so we can actually play. By the way, playing from Atlanta all the way onto servers in Japan. I mean, quite an incredible feat. If he's able to get it any lower as well, so it's actually playable as well. I mean, it sounds like I'm making excuses for them, but it does make a huge difference. Even if it's like a difference of 50 or whatever the ping might be, it could be the difference maker for the Atlanta Reign in this match.
I mean, he's playing a lot of heroes right now that are very ping dependent, and I think it's been amazing this year, just the technological infrastructure that's even been put together for this to be possible in the first place, like actually having inter-regional play, but it blows my mind to start with. Let's take a look at the Atlanta starters, though, and you'll see that Pelican is being featured on this roster right now, at least for the starters. We'll see how it ends up. But when he's playing Pharah, when he's playing Tracer, yeah, a lot of it is going to be dependent on his ping, and I was amazed that Pelican was able to have the performances he did in that opening match against Seoul, when he had like 150, 170 ping or something. That's not how these tournaments were designed. The whole idea of going to Hawaii is so that you're on a reasonable ping. Up to 90 is what the league said at the beginning of the year. They were trying to get it around that level so that it felt good. So Pelican was already playing outside, way outside of that boundary. I think you might be right on the money there in that it was more psychological than anything, and it just kind of rattled them. And coming up now, they're playing against a Hunters team that they're going to be feeling it. They just came off a breeze of a match against Seoul.
And they want to really just come out swinging here. An opportunity to go to the finals for them. At this point, I believe the Chengdu Hunters, in terms of like league points, it's not going to make a difference. I don't think they can overtake Shanghai Dragons in the Eastern Division. But for the Atlanta Reign, they do. The Atlanta Reign do have something to play for within this match as well. I believe it from this point on, it comes down to seeding. So they are definitely going to be wanting to go as far as possible. But outside of all of that, the point that we keep brushing over when we're talking about this is the Countdown Cup itself. A lot of money on the line for all of these teams. They are going to be battling for a bit of that pocket change, which is always going to be nice as well.
And just the prestige too. Like, you want to be at this point in the league, because neither Dallas nor Shanghai got to this stage final. The max that any team has had is 3 this year. Dallas went to 3 of them, Shanghai went to 3 of them, Atlanta have been to 3 of them, and Chengdu as well. So both of these teams at this point, for me, Brent, are battling. Yeah, sure, Atlanta Reign is battling for seeding against the Gladiators. Yeah, that's very valid. But also, it's the prestige of being known as the second best team in the West, the second best team in the East, the team that did the best in the stage finals, that kind of thing. And also just being able to prove to yourselves, prove to your fans that you can win big games, you can win tournaments. If you win this game, you're alive. There is the chance that you take home one of the stage titles, and this one is more up for grabs than any have been all year long, because like I said, no Dallas, no Shanghai.
God, it would give you a lovely bit of momentum, wouldn't it, heading into the playoffs themselves. Yeah, I mean, God, that would be incredible to have that under your belt, and just the knowledge at the back of your mind that, you know, essentially as we're getting towards the period of time where you want to be heating up as a team, you were the dominant one out of the teams that made it to the Countdown Cup. That kind of knowledge at the back of your mind is something that can really take you quite far.
Oh, let's take a look at this, Bren, because I was so excited for this matchup. Gator playing Rein into the Jinmu Pharah. Is it going to work? We saw the Gladiators have a lot of success running Pharah, running Mei to take down Gator's Rein. But when Kai is playing the hit scan, anything feels possible. He really has to keep Jinmu in check here.
It's immense amounts of damage output that you're going to be putting onto Jinmu here, so he can't get away with these rockets. And you can see him just hunting for the angles. He's finding them, and he has forced out a lot of that. The Immortality Field is already used. Kai's down. Jinmu's going to be afforded a bit more of an aggressive approach and a bit more aggressive angles coming around the side. That's Massa already down, but they are evening it up. Gator, the one thing that this Reinhardt does apply is a lot of brawl potential, I suppose, when he's just swinging away in the front lines. Right now with the res on to leave, they've already brought up all their damage dealers. Ultimate's committed, the barrage up close! That is chaotic energy at its finest. And it's going to be traded out the 1-for-1, but ultimately it's the Chengdu Hunters who eventually flip this point back over.
And Kai, after his early death, the first pick in that engagement, moves over to Widow. That's a strange TPS lineup if I've ever seen one. Okay, now they're moving over to double sniper, but a Widow Torb, I don't think I've ever seen in the Overwatch League. Bar no match. But I'm excited for this.
Lever's coming up close to this Dragon Strike. One more arrow will pretty much do it, but it's a hard task ahead of him. Yeah, got to be careful of Kai when he's playing these sightlines as well. Ilios Ruins, iconic for a lot of Widowmaker play. And that's a beautiful one. That should be a D-Mech onto Lating if they can follow it up. Gaga's Supercharger's already gone down, and it's going to mean ultimates have to be used here still. So Fire Strike takes out Gaga. Just trying to play close and connected right now. Jinmu avoiding the line of sight. That's a D-Mech. Pushing past the window now. That's Leave hunting for a head or two. Just one target, that's all he needs right now. There's Hawk. Possibly going to be able to get it, but he's taking so much spam damage right now. He gets the kill, but the point flips over to Atlanta.
Atlanta do a great job there. This composition has changed drastically for them. Even though they're running Gator on Rein, now Gator's essentially alone in the front, and he is almost the bait. And when Chengdu try and collapse onto him, Kai and Pelican are hitting shots. Now Pelican makes the swap. He reads that Leave and Jinmu are going over to the Tracer and the Genji, and so he wants more tankiness in the front. Kai's going to find it really difficult as well here. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a bit of a comp swap. Maybe after this Infrasight ends if he hasn't found a pick.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard. I will say Pelican making that swap over to the Torb is really the definition of intelligence, I think, as well, when you're up against the Genji and the Tracer. Nice little turret to just push them away. But yeah, Kai is finding it difficult to get anything done. One quick shot might do it. That's the deflect. Down and out, but yeah. Okay, dash into the melee. Jinmu takes him out pretty quickly there. Probably going to be swapping off the back of that. Something that can service his team a little bit better here as well. Jinmu's still just tearing into them onto the point, dashing through as he gets the reset. A couple of right clicks, the Shurikens are definitely finding their marks and Leave happily there in the backline, following up on all that damage being done. It's going to be probably a blade being built up here. The point should get flipped over to them. The Atlanta Reign, though, in a nice position here with 95% on the board. One team fight is going to stand between them and the round, essentially.
The problem is, Chengdu have a hyper-mobile comp that can take this aggressive high ground, and Atlanta don't have anybody that can contest it particularly. It's only Hawk. So Leave has access into the back lines, he can try and get in, get a stick, weaves it past that defense matrix.
Yeah, Hawk knew it was coming, but just couldn't quite get onto it. That's a shatter. That is huge. Gator might have just found so many targets off of that. That's the power of that ultimate, I suppose, when there's no shields blocking it. So used to seeing Reinhardt being played into all of these compositions that make it so hard to get any sort of value out of it. But there we go. May have set the team up for success. The Chengdu Hunters, though, not giving up. There's the mines. Drops around the corner. Iris has to just hop around the corner. The Molten Core scattered onto the point. Means Chengdu are going to be finding it to get the footing in place. That's going to be a blade, but they are all in close quarters. Swinging away, not enough. Gator with the hammer. It's slightly bigger than the katana. And it's going to be definitely getting the edge necessary for them to try and steamroll ahead and take this potential round away from them. With 99%, it's flipped over. 98%. Somebody will be able to touch
the back line.
But there's Gaga gone.
Brent, they allowed Monk and Eviltal to survive into this. If this turns around in favor of Chengdu, that is the crucial element. The Bionade as well that's landed onto Massa, but Eviltal does fall. Thankfully, the turret can do what the players can't.
Kai's finished as well. I mean, the picks are coming through, and that's Gator. 2 kills with 1 fire strike. You love to see it. And the overtime eventually going to be whistling down to nothing. The Atlanta Rain holds strong. It's looking dicey towards the end there, don't get me wrong, but eventually powering through.
Yeah, that final fight got closer than I think the Rain were anticipating. And this is the most interesting strategic difference between these teams, I think. The Western teams are the only ones that are dabbling with Rhine. We saw Seoul play out for 1 team fight, but they're out of the tournament now anyway, and they didn't play too much more of it. But it's only really Atlanta, and then the Gladiators pulled it out on 1 occasion to huge success as well. This is the second shatter, by the way, Brent, that Gator built up that turned team points.
I mean, it's always going to get value as well. I mean, if somebody's on the ground, you're going to be able to at least get 1. There's nothing that's blocking it. I mean, it's, in theory, it turns, I guess, the weaknesses of Reinhardt, where he doesn't have the speed boost, you have his ultimate to fall back on, where typically that isn't the case.
Sure. We're now seeing a direct mirror between these 2 teams as well. Iris has been pretty fantastic at getting out damage from the backline on back. But I'm interested in seeing the Pelican-Jinmu duel. Pelican held his own against Prophet when it came to that, even when he was playing on high ping, but there's the leave difference.
Yeah, and I believe that was a halt to set that up as well. The arrow straight to the head. Can't survive that. And it will be the early flip. Early control gained here to the Chengdu Hunters. Leave up to 60% of this Dragon Strike on top of it. And the Farah duel that's taking place between both of these players, it's a center point for sure, but it looks like for now they're just not really opting into it. Oh my god.
Yeah, a lot of... you have 2 very different style of Farah players. Some that like to play very aggressive and force the duel, leave drop in weak, and other types of Farahs that like to just stay at a distance, ignore the other Farah, and do ground damage. Looks like both Farahs opting for that ground damage at the moment.
Yeah, just trying to pump in the arrows. You can see Levy's built up the Dragon Strike. Oh my goodness, brought down so low there. It's got a bit of res. And yeah, no rockets to try and disrupt it, but Kai takes him out. Massive falls as well, though. Chengdu Hunters looking to try and hold on to this one, but they've got a huge disadvantage in this fight. Kai is just taking control of it. Ultimate's committed. The Immortality Field. The Amp Matrix there. Monk just trying to turn it around. An optimistic ult to be just laid down there. Only 49% will be what the Chengdu Hunters are able to get there before eventually going the way of the Atlanta Rain.
Both windows were traded, though, so I don't think that's catastrophic for Chengdu, despite the fact that they flipped things over. And Atlanta have some serious opportunities to start to use their ult bank to favor them. The big problem for Atlanta Rain maintaining control here is Gaga's ultimate. If that supercharger gets deployed early on, I'm not sure Atlanta have a response.
That's going to be so hard. Jimudo going close quarters again. Just trying to put the rockets into them. That's so difficult. Eviltal somehow gets the pistol kill to Massa right into the backlines. You kidding me? Valved up, just dashing right into them. Pulls out the Glock, why not?
He's been separated from the rest of the squad, though, and Gator's found an opportunity to deploy his own supercharger in response.
Yeah, this could be turnable for the Atlanta Rain. With the amount of ultimates they're committing into this, they just need a few good picks, but Late Young, that South-Destruct was impeccable. Iris taken out in a fight, and now the chances are pretty much done and dusted of winning this one out.
Yeah, great turnaround there from Chengdu. They took the advantage early on in terms of their positioning, forging a path forwards, getting a D-Mech onto Hawk early, and deploying that supercharger. And it's got to feel great to get it out of Hawk as well. Get the ult out of Gator as well. Gaga's probably going to have one for this final fight if it drags on a little. These are quite slow compositions.
Damage being done here. There's a rocket, I believe, into Jinmu from afar there. He's only just been healed up. Leaf's got the Dragon Strike. If they try and play indoors here, it's going to be difficult for them to try and avoid. Just has to avoid this damage, but that's an arrow. Again, Kai taken out, the barrage on top of it. This could just be the round. The Chengdu Hunters, with all of these picks going their way, Massa on the Valking Mercy, not going to be able to touch that one up. A pretty clinical finish there for the Chengdu Hunters in that one, and we are going to be going the distance onto Ilios.
I gotta say, Brent, I thought that fight may end up being decided by the Farah battle, as it often is when you see those comms clash. Didn't actually feel like it to me. From the points of view that we were watching, the Farah's had a secondary or maybe even tertiary impact on the team fight. It seemed to be more about who could generate more value between Leave and Kai on Hangzhou, and where the tanks were taking space. And Chengdu did an excellent job there of setting up Leave for success, pumping resources into him, getting him in great high ground positions, and applying a lot of pressure onto Gator and Hawk.
Well, now we're heading over to Well. This is notorious as well. I mean, opportunities abound, I guess, with the Holtz and the Concussion Blast to potentially get some picks, send people right into the murky depths of Ilios. Bit of a safety hazard having a hole this big in the middle of this Greek town, but who am I to judge?
Yeah, what kind of architects came up with that?
I have no idea.
Let's just dig downwards, huh, in the middle of this town.
Yeah. It doesn't make too much sense still. Leon falls. Jinmu manages to even it out with that pick onto Iris, and that could be bigger than they maybe thought as well. That's going to be not too much healing going their way. Rez is traded, so those early picks are going to be counteracted, but Chengdu Hunters, with Iris going down there, not ideal. Monk actually sent straight into the well, I think, as well there by Gator. Still, they are in control of the point, and they're looking to try and get some stagger kills if they can, just to make it a little bit less dangerous for them.
And again, Leave 30% ahead of Kai when it comes to ultimate charge, the actual damage that he's been able to do there. Really good coordinated focus from Hunters in terms of pressuring back the Atlanta Reigns tanks, so they always have more space in the fight, it feels. And Leave continues to take these high ground positions and just pepper people from unusual angles, where the D.Va and the Orisa can't really stop it.
It's hard, you have to keep so many places in mind. The off-tank role, you've got to have very good awareness of your surroundings at all times, but Leave, look at this position. I mean, you would just never expect him to be here. Right underneath the Fire Mercy combo, he's like, okay, I'll fire 3 arrows, miss him, but now the Amp Matrix drops onto the corner, traded from both these teams. No one in its field. Leave is just straight up just stood right in front of the window, despite the fact that the Atlanta Reign are running it, and they're going to be committing ultimates. Dragon Strike off to the side, but Pelican, that's a barrage to answer it out. They want to close this, they want to take this away now from the Chengdu Hunters, winning out this team fight. So it will be a matter of time before they do take it away and take the control back, and you can see Ivital somehow gets a kill onto Kai just before he's taken down.
But is it too much damage done already? That's my big question. Chengdu are up to 65%. They're going to be able to come back in with a barrage of their own and a supercharger traded on both sides, of course. It does feel like Chengdu have just been very good at the offense side of this comp, of being able to take space and get their way in. Look, they're barely being pressured as they approach.
That's a supercharger from both the teams removed. But Chengdu have got the positioning right now. Jinmu has to keep an eye onto Pelican. Doesn't want to get taken out from the side, but has the barrage. And you know that's what he's waiting for. Kai with a Dragon Strike. Not too much gain from that. Now we see self-destructs being employed. And that's Gaga. They pressure the front line there. They were caught them actually indoors. But the Atlanta Reign should win this team fight off the back of this one.
Pretty nice, pretty clean from Atlanta Reign. I was worried that they had given Chengdu too much space to operate, but Jinmu never really found that timing that he liked to go for an ult. And so without the barrage, they didn't have the teamfight finishing power, and we're about ready to tie this up. 10% away from it being dead even across the board. Gaga makes his way over to Wrecking Ball as well. He doesn't really have anybody to sync with that easily apart from Jinmu, and it looks like Jinmu's both tied up in a Farah duel and... what? Hello? Evital, he's pulled out the Glock! No, not again, Evital! He finds the kill onto Massa. I mean, that is just BM. Just finding these pickoffs out of nowhere. That has set them up for success. No way is he going for more. I mean, Evital's an absolute nutcase. I love it, though. I think that's actually a really smart move as well. People flame me in my ranked games when I go for that play. But seriously, when you're Valking around, you have such three-dimensional movement, it is really difficult for an opposing Farah to punish you. And if you find an enemy Mercy that's not expecting it, you can find that pick and just turn things around faster than your own Farah can.
They try and punish Skaga on the ball by laying down the window, but now the window's just in a really inopportune angle. 90% now for the Chengdu Hunters. This is the map. Gaga's been sent off the edge, I think, potentially by the boosters there. A good opening for the Atlanta Reign. Can they get the bodies onto the point, though, to contest this? 98% yes. Hawk will be there, but Pelican's taken out from an arrow. Leave with the snipe, Dragon Strike off to the side. No one's eating that one up. In fact, it pushes them all away. He gives them the space to get the D-Mech there onto Hawk. Now the Supercharger. It's got to get something done. They need to take this out if Chengdu Hunters want to close it out. And they might have done just that. Dragon Strike rips across the point, but there's a last-ditch effort there from the Atlanta Reign as the overtime has finally kicked in here. And Leave, no one's really pressured him this entire time. Free reign over the battlefield. The Chengdu Hunters taking away Ilios.
What an absolute force of nature Leave is. He just dictates the entire flow of the battle. He gets that snipe onto a Pharah that's flying around in mid-air. It's a headshot, by the way. That forces out a res. Hawk has to touch the objective through his Dragon Strike, gets taken out of mech, and then he's able to use his Storm Arrows plus another little bit of pressure to just kill Gator and remove his Supercharger. That entire last fight was saved by Leave after Gaga was the first death.
Yeah.
Chengdu can rely on him to go above and beyond.
And I gotta say, Josh, as well, I think for the Atlanta Reign, we were talking a bit beforehand about this being a team that wears their heart on their sleeves. I think that first map was an important one for them to win. With that loss under their belts, how are they going to be rallying further into the series now is going to be vitally important to try and stay into this series. We're going to go to a short break, but of course on the other side of things, we're going to see just what they can do to bounce back. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
奥萨拉右边了，别，奥利萨没近身，奥利萨没身，电子半血，电子半血。你看你不要小丢啊，你小心点。我应该没了。天使，天使，慢到死。380。我操，我有点玩嗨了。哎，你知道吗，金木？他。
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.